सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सर्वभूतस्थितं यो मां भजत्येकत्वमास्थितः सर्वथा वर्तमानोऽपि स योगी मयि वर्तते। आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति योऽर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः। अर्जुन उवाच योऽयं योगस्त्वया प्रोक्तः साम्येन मधुसूदन एतस्याहं न पश्यामि चञ्चलत्वात् स्थितिं स्थिराम् चञ्चलं हि मनः कृष्ण प्रमाथि बलभद्रुडम् तस्याहं निग्रहं मन्ये वायोरिव सुदुष्करम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच असंशयं महाबाहो मनो दुर्निग्रहं चलम् अभ्यासेन तु कौन्तेय वैराग्येन च गुह्यते। असंयतात्मना योगो दुष्प्राप इति मे मतिः वश्यात्मना तु यतता शक्यो वाप्तुमुपायतः। अर्जुन उवाच अयति श्रद्धयोपेतः योगाच्छलितमानसः अप्राप्य योगसंसिद्धिं कां गतिं कृष्ण गच्छति। कच्छिन्नो भयविभ्रष्टः छिन्नाभ्रमिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पथि। ये तन्मे संशयं कृष्ण छेत्तुमर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्य संशयस्यास्य छेत्तान ह्युपपद्यते। श्रीभगवानुवाच पार्थ नैवेह नामुत्र विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते न हि कल्याणकृत् कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति। Namaskaram. Hari Om to everyone. The last we did was the 32nd verse, where we learned he who through the likeness of the self sees an equality everywhere through the joy and sorrow, sukham yadiva dukkham sayogi paramo matah. A person who is united, the yogi, is considered a supreme yogi, one who sees an equality everywhere. Also, he is samam, he is balanced through the joy and sorrow. He is not concerned of the external fluctuations. The experience of life teaches us that the way the world presents itself as the various opposites at various levels of the personality, at the material level, at the physical level, at emotional level, at intellectual level. At intellectual level, there could be acceptance of you, there could be rejectance, there could be people accepting your viewpoint. There could be people out there who would say, go to hell with your view, man. That's your point of view. I don't agree with you. How do you accept acceptance and rejectance at the intellectual level? Some people choose to shower you with love and devotion. Some people choose to express their utter bitterness and anger, frustration with you. How do you handle that emotional acceptance or rejectance? At the physical level, you will encounter everything right from birth to death. There is disease, there is decay, there is pain, there is sorrow, all of that. How do you handle all the ups and downs? At the material level, there is profit, there is loss, there is gain. So how do you balance? Then we said that the quality which helps you to remain even, composed, you remain samam. What is that quality? He said, because of the spiritual fulfillment. Once you reach that state of paripurna, paripurna is a state where you have experienced that fullness within. Because of that fullness you experience within, the external joys doesn't add to your joys. The external sorrows doesn't diminish your fullness. You have reached a state of self-sufficiency. And then we asked, I'm just connecting to what we last left with. Then we said, how the opposite of self-sufficiency is where you are so relying, so dependent on everything other than yourself, that the external factors have a great weightage, have a great influence on your mental stability. And then I was asked this question, how do I know? So I think Sudhakarji had asked lastly. I didn't have time to expand on it. I said, I will come back. How do I know what is my level of self-sufficiency? And then we said, one of the ways you would know the capacity to gauge your self-sufficiency is, anyone of you remember, what is that quality you need to practice to test yourself whether you're actually self-sufficient, where you're not affected by joy and sorrow or the external fluctuations, or you are developed such an inner resolve that it doesn't matter to you at all. And sometimes, you forget your pencil or your pen. You go to a bank, you go to an office, you go somewhere, you forget your pen. Are you affected by that when you come back and you say, oh, my pen is gone? You don't bother. It's just a 10 rupee pen, 20 rupee pen, you're not bothered. Chalta hai yaar. But sometimes, you have a favorite pen which has a certain sentiment, or perhaps it has a certain value. You buy a Mont Blanc, it has a certain value. If you have misplaced your Rajima, Mont Blanc, correct? She teaches me how to pronounce. Otherwise, my pronunciation is very bad. So she corrects me. As a principal, she has been a principal, of the school. So she'll come and correct me. This is wrong way of pronouncing, and she'll have a stick in her hand also. So I have better learn. So whenever I clarify with the teacher, What's the loss of a Mont Blanc? You lost your watch. What's the loss of a watch? You lost your phone. What's the loss of a phone? You lost a case where the substantial property would have come to you. You have lost that case. What is the loss of a property? You lost your friend, you lost your family member, you lost your near and dear. So right from a ball pen to a family member, some loss will affect you, some gain will also affect you. Is it not? The least valuable to the most valuable. To a person who is established in the truth, for him, the best of things has no value, the least of things has no value. Doesn't matter. So if you have to gauge where do I stand, am I as low as a ball pen, or as evolved as even a loss of a family member doesn't affect me? I understand nobody is immortal. Nothing is permanent. So when that inevitable happens, that somebody passes away, you gracefully accept that it's a law of nature. What can I do? What my limited efforts can do? I have to accept the fact of life. It could be due to the current time, to the pandemic, or it could be due to other reasons. But law of nature is only expressing, isn't it? Why are we complaining? The law of nature is expressing. Would you become philosophical when that happens? Would you accept it gracefully? How do you know this? And we said, do any one of you remember? Sudhakarji, looks like you got the answer. Last week you asked the question, this week you have the answer. That's a wonderful transformation, sir.
Namaskar,
Namaskar, sir.
Since I asked the question, I happen to remember the answer also.
Very good.
But I don't know whether it is right or wrong. It is left to you to decide.
No, please.
You have to practice tapas.
Perfect. You're right. You test your capacity of self-sufficiency by practicing tapas. Yes. And what is tapas? Did you recall what we said little? I just briefly spoke about it. What is tapas?
I don't remember exactly, Guruji, because it was the end of the class almost.
I understand. No problem. I will clarify. I shall clarify. But you've got that concept that tapas is the quality to practice, to check your ability to know whether you are self-reliant or dependent. That's the quality to practice to know this. Now, tapas is a quality. Tapas is nothing but a conscious withdrawal from the world. Conscious withdrawal from the world to examine your mental state of maturity. Tapas is a conscious withdrawal from the world to know your mental maturity level, to know whether you can I do without it? Because you're abstaining. I'm withdrawing from certain activity. And by withdrawing from a certain activity, you're abstaining. And does that abstinence cause any mental restlessness? Or is your mind at rest in spite of not doing something which you have been used to? So if I refrain from that, and if I'm able to keep my mind balanced, the mind doesn't get anxious or restless. And to what extent can I do that? Because there is, as we keep talking, other day we were talking in an example of everything has a certain level of elasticity. There is a certain capacity. Beyond that, it snaps. So you can withdraw from certain things only to a certain extent. Beyond that, the frustration comes in. Now, why does the frustration come in? Because you have a desire, you have a craving, you want it. There's no guarantee that it's going to be there with you tomorrow. Now, how do I know whether am I dependent on it or am I independent of it? So with reference to that particular aspect, you need to withdraw. How do you test? Just keep away from it. Physically keep away from it just to see how your mind behaves. For example, I remember I learned that, let's say you love to watch, let's say, tennis. You want to watch tennis. And the live tennis is being streamed. And the match starts at 5 o'clock in the evening. And you have such a desire to watch tennis. You have been planning to watch that match from the very first moment. Now, how do you know whether am I dependent on it for the happiness or am I self-sufficient? I'm just taking an example. I want to hear from you all how you can practice it in your own way. That will become a case study for how you all to independently think. If I want to test whether am I actually self-sufficient or dependent on it, what I would do is I would lock myself in a room for next till 5:15. 5 o'clock, the match starts, and there's no delay to that. You lock yourself for 15 minutes in the room and just see how is your mind behaving. Is there any restlessness? Is there any fidgetiness? Or somehow, is a clock ticking? Is a clock ticking? I'm missing the match. I'm missing the match. No such anxiety. You're very calm. Perhaps you're reading a magazine or you're just getting on to other things and just trying to see how my mind is behaving. And 5:15, I go out calmly, put on the TV, and the next 3 hours, I watch the live telecast. I have complete mastery over my mind. My mind is in my control. It is not that I'm a slave to that external stimuli or external temptation. I am a master. So if something comes in, let's say, many a time it happens. Like other day, there was some program coming, and due to the the monsoon kicking in, there was an interruption. There was an interruption to the transmission. Tata Sky comes with a sorry for the inconvenience, interruption. Due to certain weather fluctuations, there is no transmission. Instantly that prompt comes. But people are so smart. இதுக்கெல்லாம் நிறைய ஞானம் இருக்கு, விஞ்ஞானமும் இருக்கு. It's the same program is coming live in laptop. I can watch the same thing live streaming in Tata Sky. Tata Sky comes live streaming in, you can watch through the Wi-Fi also. Instantly, the laptop is open. You watch the program in the thing. I am not complaining at anybody. I'm not digging anybody. I'm saying, can I do without it? Next 10 minutes, serial is gone. Can I keep my mind calm without it? No, some other possible. If net doesn't come, phone. If phone doesn't come, curse the Tata Sky fellow. These fellows, I tell you, they put up a proper satellite? How much are we paying every month for this? Not only one, we are taken for 3 subscriptions in the house, and still this doesn't come. You'll be frothing and fuming, and you're angry at those fellows. That means you are so dependent on that program. That serial I've been watching for the past 1.5 years. What come May, I must watch that program. That serial must go on. What amount of Shraddha you have. That little bit of it you put in this philosophy, I guarantee you'll attain moksha. I guarantee. That commitment you have for that serial, my God, what Shraddha, what consistency, it's just, I'm flawed actually when I look at people who have that Shraddha. Addiction, you will, not addiction, it is all so much tapas you all are doing. You don't, everything stops. Cooking stops. I'm withdrawing from every other activity. People are waiting, they're hungry, but food is not there. Wait, after the serial only, you will get food. So if you talk too much, you will not get the food, So what to do, my karma, and we are praying to the director, please end the serial. Why are you continuing for 1.5 years? You're continuing the same serial going on. And from the lady will walk from the hall to the bedroom, from bedroom to the kitchen, from kitchen to the lounge. This is going on drama, and everybody had nothing else to do but sitting and watching. Can you do without it? Tapas is a way to withdraw from an activity where you believe you have a weakness. Test your strengths, withdraw from it. Step. Now, but it's applicable in your area. Now, let me take up. People have started blessing me, so I should start addressing them. Venkatramanji.
Namaskar. Hariom.
Namaskar ji. Hariom ji.
Yeah, I think I fully understand what you have said, and definitely I think that is something which we have to practice. But there is a small conflict which is going in my mind. In a world where we are expected to be very organized, perfect, and especially, everyone expects you to do. So I'm just taking the example of not carrying a pen when we are going to a bank, or not having the required material when you are going to a conference. It actually puts you into a different light, and people start judging you. Oh, this guy is so unorganized. And we can say, Chalta hai, main kya ho gaya? What is the big deal if a pen I am not bringing, if I am borrowing a pen? But normally, and I have experienced it myself, and so I think everyone, when we go to a bank, if somebody asks you, excuse me, can I have your pen? We will think, Arey yaar, he's coming to a bank and he's not carrying a pen.
No. Nowadays, other day somebody asked a pen. I said, you take the pen, please sanitize and give it back. If you're not sanitizing, you keep the pen, I said. So that is the new problem we have now.
Exactly. So I am only struggling with that bit of it in a world where, people would expect you to be so organized, and then, this thing. Some of these things, while I fully agree, those TVs and things which are completely in my control and which one can, withdraw, absolutely perfect. But some of the other things which we say, what is the big deal? And this I commonly, I don't know, because I have a teenage son with me. He says, what is the big deal? Why do you make so much of fuss around a small thing? It's not an earth-shattering event. And this is a very common, this thing what we keep hearing even when we are dealing in companies. So how do we resolve that bit of it? And also, let me tell you, it also, kind of shatters your confidence. Oh, am I getting very disorganized? What is this? This is not the way. I mean, if you even forget some things. So that conflict is something which, while I agree with whatever you have said and fully one needs to practice, but how do we resolve this bit of it? So that's it from my side. Thank you.
But I am actually, I'm struggling to understand what is the contradiction or where's the concern here?
No, the concern is if we start accepting some of those things, which I fully agree with you. I mean, forgetting a pen or, not being organized, and then convincing ourselves, oh, there is no big deal for it. Then
no.
Will we get into a situation where we will
but where are we stating that imperfection is accepted?
I mean, I thought so. Like if we are, say, let us see if I lose a Mont Blanc pen.
Oh, yeah.
Then I would say that, oh, I can't even keep a pen properly, and I can't keep, I mean, I might not be very associated and all, but it gives a different kind of an impression saying that, oh, I'm being so disorganized. I'm not able to keep my things in proper shape. I'm forgetting. I mean, those kind of thoughts, which, I get.
Sir, if I can understand, I'm not answering you. I'm just trying to understand you, sir. On one hand, you're saying that I could be ill-organized, where I could misplace my pen, or I may not be as organized as others expect me to do, or as I expect myself to be, where you are not really conscious of your actions. That's one side. But when you're practicing tapas is a very conscious action.
Okay.
Isn't it? I know match starts at 5 p.m. I have a desire, I have a weakness for it. Can I do without it? I consciously withdraw from that activity for 15 minutes and see my mind. It's actually, I'm policing my mind. I'm actually witnessing my mind and seeing how is my mind behaving. I think these two are different things. One is an action which is not, it's happening because you're not conscious. Other is a conscious application. You are injecting tapas into your life to actually examine your inner resolve. Because we are using tapas to test my level of self-sufficiency.
Okay, no, I got the distinction, because I was only thinking, are we rationalizing for every, this bit of it which you have said, actions? Okay, right. Got it. Thank you.
But in fact, there is a solution why is one ill-organized, or why does one, going by the example, why does it happen? And how to resolve that is, there is an exercise known as introspection. So introspection is a 5-minute exercise which is done at the end of the day. The last thing you do before you get to bed is to mentally recap all the activities that has transpired for the day, from the moment your day began till the time you got to bed. It is like actually when you scan a document in a printer, what your computer does, it just scans a document. But when your printer scans the document, does it analyze the document?
No, it just scans.
That's all. So you should not go into the pros and cons of the actions.
Oh.
Just scan. Oh, I got up today at 4:20 a.m. As usual, I went into the washroom. I did what I need to do. And I realized that paste was not there. Then I had to go into the storeroom to pick up the paste. I brushed, I freshened up, I made a cup of coffee, went to the study table, did my study. 6:15, I went this. 7 o'clock was this. 7:30, I got a call. 8 o'clock, I realized I left my phone inside the office, and I locked and came out and sent it. Oh, where's my phone? Again, I went back. All these things, you just go experience by experience, moment to moment. All this has transpired in your day's activities. But you should do it very objectively, no analysis. I had an argument with this person. I lost my temper, as a result of which I made a wrong decision. I was late for a meeting. I didn't answer that call. I have not responded to that message. This email is still pending. This was all happening in the day's activities. You're scanning your day's activities. And one of the things will come is you have forgotten your pen. You went to the meeting without a pen, or you went to the bank without a pen. Then I had to borrow, etc., etc. Or I didn't take the necessary photocopy of my ID. They've asked photocopy of your Aadhaar card. You needed this document. I went without it. And then I had to walk 5 minutes to the nearest photocopy shop to get photocopied, and everything got. So what are you doing? Just scanning every activity. Ideally, you should stop at the 5 minutes, skip 5 minutes alarm. The moment the alarm rings, stop. First, what would happen is you will actually have ample time because you have gone through the major activities. But as you do regularly, you will find 5 minutes not sufficient. You only come up to lunch hour. But as you keep doing, the clarity becomes very, very crisp, that you keep scanning very fast. I did this, I did this, I did this. So you're able to recap. Now, what happens next time when you're going to the bank, because you have applied your intellect and done the introspection, some thought comes and prompts you. Hey, take the pen to the bank. Or next time you're having a meeting with that person, last time you lost your temper. Be very careful when you're dealing with this person again. There's a thought. That's a power of a thought. That's a power of a reinforced thought. Introspection helps you to address that certain the qualities, your absent-mindedness or little ill-organized. That would help. But just to differentiate, introspection only helps you to reactivate your existing intellect. You must differentiate difference between introspection and reflection. Introspection is only done 5 minutes end of the day. Whatever existing intellect you have, it wakes up. Harishji, let's say somebody has 20% intellect. What would introspection do?
It would bring out the 20%.
That's all. But then how to increase from 20 to 30 to 40?
By analysis and that what you call reflection.
Which is done early morning. Pratasmarami. You want to develop your intellect from 20 to 25 to 30 to 50 to 100. You need to do reflection on these scriptures, question them, analyze them, study them. That's done between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. So introspection kindles the existing dormant intellect. Mark my words, it only kindles. You have the intellect, but it has become dormant because you have not exercised it. 5-minute exercise only helps with that, but reflection strengthens it. It boosts the strength. That's done early hours. So with these two practices, you will distinctly see the clarity of thought. So the intellect is available usually after the action. Oh, I forgot that, I missed that, I should have done that. But the intellect starts coming to while performing the action and then prior to the action. So it just switches. You're just pushing it from after the action to before the action. I just thought it's worth mentioning this exercise. This would help that reason, but that's a action which you're not conscious. Here's a very conscious act. All right, sir. All right. Annapurnama, did you raise your hand?
Hari Om, Guruji.
Yes, ma. Hari Om.
Yes, Guruji.
You had your hand raised, so you want to comment anything?
Gauge the... Yes, Guruji.
Yeah.
On the question you had asked, the level of ability to gauge the ability to withdraw from the objects and actions of attachment and remain unagitated. I'm just going to read from your notes only, Guruji. It's in the 7th sloka you had explained. How do you gauge your level of renouncement? One, the desire for the object, the level of desire you have for an object. Second is what value or interest you attach to the object. Even if it is a very valuable thing, one should be able to say no to that, to possess that, and capacity to procure. The third one is even if you have the ability to spend a lot of money and buy a thing for yourself, a thing, object of your desire, one should be able to say no to it. And even one has the ability to enjoy the object physically.
Yes, yes, I'm aware of that point. So what is the question?
Availability of...
Yes, could you come to the question? In fact, that analysis, you're right.
Is the level of attachment, tapas, ability to withdraw from the objects and actions of attachment. And sorry, I think there is it's breaking, Guruji. I'm not getting the audio.
No, in fact, we are experiencing a certain disruption in your voice, but I think I've got the context, what you're referring to. You could use that to expand the context, but I did not want to go into that because we've already discussed it earlier. So I didn't want to go into it, but you can do that, because obviously you're only going to test yourself in areas where your weaknesses, or you want to know, am I truly self-sufficient? You got to test yourself, but you can apply it in any walk of life, to anything in general, or anything in particular you want to test, you can do it. No? All right.
That's all good.
Most welcome. Yes, Tinkima.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Yes,
you had mentioned that, favorite tennis, you go inside 15 minutes, stop yourself, and after that go and enjoy it for 3 hours. That won't be difficult, because I will tell the mind that, look, 15 minutes, sit quietly, after that enjoy the tennis match for 3 hours. So does that really reflect the level of my tapas? I don't think so. It's only if I give it up and said, no, I have something else to do. I need to take care of the family, cook for the family, or do something else and forget about this today. Then I'm making a choice based on my intellect. But I'm only postponing the enjoyment. 15 minutes of suffering is okay. Take an injection, beta, uske baad all well. तो चलो, I'll suffer a little bit. उसके बाद I have 3 hours of tennis. Then how does that really?
Even 1 minute of suffering, you have failed. That's a test.
No, I may not suffer. I'm just telling myself, be calm, do something else. 3 hours, उसके बाद 3 घंटे enjoy कर लो tennis. How does that reflect? I'm only asking, how does that reflect my level of tapas?
Increase it to 1 hour. If 15 minutes is too easy for you, 1 hour you don't see. If that also is little for you, don't watch tennis at all. You study Vedanta for next 3 hours and see whether your mind can be completely above that desire to enjoy tennis. You have an urge to do something and you're able to say, get thee behind me, Satan, I will have none at thy hands. As Christ said, I will not fall a prey to my mind, get thee behind me. Nuts can be there, but you will say, I am not a nut falling for nuts. I have no interest in the nuts. I will keep it aside. You may say that. You like something, can you withdraw from it?
So if one day I'm able to withdraw and I say, wow, I'm great, I have a high level of tapa, then?
Don't pat yourself yet. This is only the starting point, long way to go.
Because next
Ma,
6 times.
okay, two. Okay, Tinky Ma, does this knowledge mean anything to you?
I hope so, yes. It's giving
What
me.
does it mean to you?
It's removing some of the ignorance, I hope. I don't know. And I must
First of
apply
all, hello. This knowledge is removing some ignorance, I hope. That also you're not giving credit to the knowledge. Mark the words, what you say, because I am going to be very particular the words you use. Some ignorance, and I hope that also is happening. That means that much credit you're giving to the knowledge in the Guru. Am I right?
Say Guruji is giving 100%. My ability may be only 50%. Then I cannot say, "Ha, sunke 100% mein gyani ban gayi."
I'm not saying that. I'm saying what is your value you give to the knowledge?
I give a lot of value to the knowledge.
Okay. Tomorrow I'm heading off into the woods for next 1 year. Pack your bags and we'll go and live in the ashram. Chalo with me. Come on.
अभी कोरोना वायरस में तो नहीं जाऊंगी.
It is the safest place on earth for you. Don't give me excuses. Safer than your home, which you have created a heaven for yourself, is safer than that. Drop everything what you're holding on to. Your duties, responsibilities as a grandmother, as a wife, as a mother, as your neighbor, as whatever. Drop that and let's pursue the highest truth of spiritual study. I will have a man of great wisdom, a great Swami is there going to teach you and me. We both want to be learned. Let's go and spend some time 1 year in the ashram. Will you come with me?
So can we give up one's
Answer the question.
duty? No, my question is, can I give up my obligatory duties?
I am asking you to drop. I am asking you to drop the lower obligation to honor your highest obligation to realize yourself. So don't justify the lower for sacrificing the higher. You can sacrifice the lower for the higher, not the higher for the lower.
Yes, I think till today I haven't. Perhaps I would, maybe. But
yes
you know,
or no? Don't postpone to the future. Tomorrow, pack your bags at 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. Are you ready? Is your mind ready?
Mind is always ready. Mind is ready, but you know what happens? The intellect comes and says, "Stop it."
I am only giving you an avenue to think, so that you can examine your own capacity in the areas where you need to be tested and challenged. I'm just giving an example.
Okay.
Don't take it literally. If that applies to you, please do so. You know. But if I were to drop everything you're doing and move on, because that is real tapas. Tapas is to, as somebody commented earlier, tapas is conserving the dissipation of your energy. Do you consider your obligatory duties as dissipation of energy? No, you may not consider. You will say, oh, it's my duty. What duty? Your duty, primary duty for you, which you're born, is to realize yourself. Do you realize that duty? Uska duty kya hua? Wo bhul gaye?
Nahi bhul gaye.
I am not talking to you. I'm talking to everybody in the classroom.
Yeah.
What about that duty? Your only purpose, you're born, is to realize. Every other duty is is justified if you do, if I say no to it. Justified.
I'm scared if I did that, the family will say, no more Bhagavad Gita class, you're getting spoiled.
What are you afraid of what family says? What are you afraid what the world says?
That's the
Siddhartha
problem.
just left the family and walked away. That Siddhartha became the Prince Buddha. The prince became the Buddha. That is that Shraddha, that is that tapas, that is the capacity to drop the lower for the higher. Don't again hair split what Siddhartha did. But I'm saying that spirit to drop and pursue. But here we're only trying to tell you to know your capacity. We're not telling you to give up anything, please. Just afterwards you can go and enjoy it. Because you have a perfect mastery over the mind. That's all we're saying, please. Don't get the concept wrong.
Yeah.
But once you realize that you can do without it, you said, man, what am I simply sitting in front of a TV for 3 hours or watching a movie for 4 hours and I'm entertaining myself. Perhaps I could use it wisely to be of service to someone or something, do better. How often do I do that to myself? Oh, every day I spend 3-4 hours watching TV, movie, that and this. Can I do better with that time? I need to practice little tapas there. Whatever areas you find out, please find out. Okay.
Thank you, Guruji.
And I only realized that I can't satisfy Tinky Ma. Next time onwards, please don't mute Tinky Ma. And don't unmute her. Permanently mute Tinky Ma.
About going off for the leaving everything and going off for my tapas, I think next life maybe. Ye life mein to nahi nazar aa raha mere ko.
Are ye kya hua? You have gone from North Pole to South Pole. You become, from this thing to that, and you have swung like a pendulum. Your answer swung like a pendulum now. Now I know where your house is also, ma. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, the bell will ring.
Okay, sure.
Watch out. I'm at the door tomorrow morning.
Sure.
Right. Okay. Hari Om. Yes, Sitaramji.
If I've understood correctly, Guruji, what we are saying is that one should delay our gratification to a later time and see how agitated one's mind is. That will tell us our capability in tapas, if I understand that correctly. Isn't it? I mean, it could be any activity which we value, and you leave the gratification for a later point in time, and then see how agitated you are. If you are agitated, and that means that you're not reached that level. And in a way, I think that also improves your discipline, your self control. I think that's the objective of assessing this.
Absolutely. Can you give up something which you like?
Yeah. That's
so that you are only gaining health.
Yeah.
Only for your own selfish purposes. Let's say you are addicted to something. Can you give up something without disturbing yourself? If you're addicted to smoking, I said quit smoking for your health. People who are addicted to smoking, when they quit smoking, they find they go through hell. So what they do, they replace with some other addiction. They think they have mastered the mind. It's not mastering. You replaced your addiction.
You transferred it. Yeah.
They just transferred. So that you are cheating that's open cheating.
Yeah. Actually, in the Jainism, they have a very good practice that during the course of there's a particular day, they say that you must give up something for one full year which you like.
Yeah.
So that in a similar fashion, that it tests your self-control over leaving things which you like, not things which are material, which matter to you, you should leave. Then it tests yourself, and in a way it improves your self-control and your detachment, etc. That's
tomorrow onwards, I'm going to go 1 year away from my wife. Can I do that?
Obviously, these are not things that we can do. I mean,
what?
But because of
why can't you do?
It can't be done because of the other reason. But I'm saying the idea is to reach that level at one stage.
Yeah.
But mentally one can, not physically go. If one saying the one is attached, one can do it mentally, not physically. So I'm not saying
why not? I'm not talking of this in the context, but saying it is mental, but to be very sure that you are truly detached, the real test is physical. The real test is physical, because mentally you never know when you're justifying. The real test is physical. If you're attached to your car, how do you know real attached to car? Give to your friend who needs it, and don't worry about it for next 1 week. He's going 1 week for an outstation trip with his family, and he needs a big car. You can happily give because that's a friendship you have. But you're giving your car which you're so attached to, let's say, but you give it and then you don't worry about it the next 1 week. That is true detachment.
Yeah, that's
All right. Okay. Yes, Sudhakar Garu.
Just I wanted to ask you once.
Yes, sir.
During the course of your introspection, you told me only 5 minutes will be sufficient. And during the course of say that little time introspection, suppose if your mind is weak and you tend to reflect on something and thought flow will come into the mind and you start worrying and it will agitate you. How can we avoid that? Instead of going for the introspection, can't we avoid that totally and look for some other avenue to escape it? I would say if it's a weak mind, you have specifically told introspection you have to do only in the night and reflection in the morning. But when we are doing the introspection, during the course of introspection, suppose if that thing happens, the reflection also takes place. And the thought flow will definitely come to your mind. I made a mistake. I should not have done that. And that will prolong and elongated.
The moment you realize it, stop it.
That is what I said.
You already lost a little time in lingering in some matter. The moment that thought comes to you, stop that activity and restart afresh next day. That day is done. You've wasted the opportunity.
Guruji, that usually doesn't happen with the strong mind, a weaker mind I'm talking about. Suppose if the mind is weak, I'm doing the introspection, suddenly I drop into the reflection and that will take me to the thought flow and that will disturb me.
As I said, that's what I'm saying, Sudhakar. If that happens, you have not done justice to that 5 minutes of introspection. So you got to stop it and revisit it the next day and start afresh.
Yes.
Because you don't want to sit more than 5 minutes on this exercise, because you need to get to bed after that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But in introspection, you know, oh, most of the day I'm just watching TV, or I'm watching games, or I'm playing cards, or I'm watching stock market, or I'm playing phone, or all the time talking on phone. If this is the thing that comes, that means you need to put your phone aside, put your phone, switch off for next 2 hours, and don't touch the phone for 2 hours. Because you're not doing anything productive. Switch it off and see how your mind behaves. If you're productive, if you have to do work and if you're connecting with people, you need to do understandable. But just casually flipping through, Other day I was driving and a fellow was walking, a youngster was walking with his phone, he was watching. I had to stop, draw his attention. I said, my dear, you can afford to see the phone after you cross the road. I had to tell him, because it is very easy for him to have knocked him down. I would have knocked him down because he's just scrolling through the phone as he's crossing a deserted stretch of road. It was deserted, there was no traffic. But he didn't even notice a car was coming his way. Earphones on, plugged in, phone, and he's crossing the road. I had to honk him to alert him. He said, my dear friend, please watch out. You're so addicted. In fact, there's happened cases in US, a locomotive ran over a fellow who was jogging on the railway track in US. And they have these earphones which are complete sound cut off. There is no sound at all. In fact, the locomotive honked. He couldn't hear the locomotive coming his way. A locomotive, they're not talking of a car or a bike. And he was crushed to death because the locomotive couldn't stop. It was at a speed. It was flashed in the papers. We are addicted. Nowadays in Europe, they have done this. At the crossings, you have to lift your head to see whether it's a green signal to cross or red to stop. The pedestrian passenger. Now that signals have come at the point where you stand at the corner of the road. So you see down whether it's red or green, because people are not taking their eyes off their phones. Have you seen this? Ramji, have you seen this before in your travel days? It's something new, sir. I don't know. This was something which I saw in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
I have not seen, Guruji.
So in Europe, they have brought the lights from the poles to the streets where you are all the time looking down and walking. So they don't have to lift their head to see whether it's green to walk or red to stop. To that extent, governments are people are not able to take their addiction out of phones. So is a phone a blessing or a curse? What would you say, Ramji?
Well, it is a.
No, somebody's laughing from there. I can hear.
I know.
No. I will wait for answer from her. UK? Don't mute yourself, Ramji.
Yeah.
Is a phone a blessing or a curse, Ma?
If you're addicted, it is definitely a cursed, Guruji. You should know when to use it and when not to use it. Have some discrimination about using it.
I know you're very diplomatic, philosophical answer. Before that, you are. Huh?
No, because in his case, it is an addiction. That's why I was laughing.
No, it is not.
No. As long as you realize it is productive, it is useful in some way or the other, as long as you're conscious of it, it's not a problem. The moment it overwhelms you, it consumes your life. Yes. So when does it become a curse? When does it become a blessing? Ramji?
Well, it becomes a curse when you can't stay away from it. And it affects your activities. Like you just said that you try to stay away from something that you like. So if it is making you compulsorily sticking to it, then it is a curse. And it becomes a blessing if you can use it for some constructive purposes. But I think this dilemma is there, Guruji, in life. It's very difficult to make out what is blessing and what is a curse. I think many things we consider to be blessings are not necessarily blessings at the end of the life when you review. Many things.
Example?
Well, it could be money, for example. Okay. Initially, you may think that money is a blessing and God was kind to you and then gave you a lot of money. But by the end of the life, you may realize that it is not. Okay, it was actually a curse that you have sacrificed so much of your other things for money. You might have sacrificed your health for money, whatever it is. So that is one ready example which comes. But in general, we may consider something to be a boon or a blessing.
Ramji, just a suggestion. This 1 hour 15 minutes phone switch off panungo.
No, actually I keep it on because I use the
network
hotspot. Yeah.
Okay. But you should put silent mode so ring doesn't come.
Yeah, Guruji. So that's what I was meaning by that. Yeah.
No, I can understand. But in the recent discussions we've been having, we can say something becomes a blessing or a curse based on your wrong relationship or right relationship with it.
Yeah, correct.
If you have a wrong relationship with the world, it becomes a curse. If you establish a right relationship with it, it becomes a blessing, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
So what is that relationship you said? So at every stage, if you are a master, it is a blessing. The moment it consumes you, you become a victim of it, you become a slave to it, it's a curse. It could be food, it could be wealth, it could be name, it could be health, it could be family, it could be name. I want to build a name for myself in the market, in the industry. Anything can be a curse if it consumes you and you fall prey to it, isn't it?
True. That's true.
Right. Yeah. But all of this actually falls in its place even without you being mindful of it when you're shifted your focus towards the higher. All this sort of falls in its place. In fact, when you talk of money, the 29th verse in Bhagavad Gita, we have not come in the classes, but it's a classic verse where he says, Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. He says, wealth is a calamity, he says. Can you imagine? Adi Shankaracharya says, Artham is anartham, he says. So, as you say, many people think wealth is a blessing. Actually, it's a calamity. Calamity, na?
Yeah.
It is there's danger. In fact, Oliver Goldsmith, no, I'm afraid of using Western philosophers, Ramji. Bhayama irkanaka.
You should use. To show the diversity, you must use.
Yes. So, Oliver Goldsmith says, where wealth accumulates, men decay, he says. Have you heard this before?
No.
Yeah. Where wealth accumulates, men decay. And it's so true.
Yeah. Anything in excess is a cause for decay. Okay.
No. Why do you say that? Do you mean to say you should not, is there a quantum? The Shastras don't put a limit to quantum. They say sky is the limit. You want to acquire wealth, acquire, you can be a royalty, no problem. It's your detachment to it that matters.
No.
It's detachment is not quantitative, sir, please. Oh, I say I'll have to this extent and then say I'm detached. Beyond this is attachment. No, there is no quantum. You can have the whole world with you. If you can be the monarch of the world, be the monarch of the world. But yet King Janaka was a man of detachment. A king being a rishi, he was a Raja Rishi, isn't it?
Yeah.
How can you give a royalty a name of a rishi, sir? Because of their absolute abstraction. They had, is it the right word, abstraction? I don't think, is it? Right. Inner abstraction. They had complete no value for it. But what Oliver Goldsmith says, where wealth accumulates, men decay. There's a pun on the word accumulates.
Yeah.
The pun is not on the word wealth. The pun is on the word accumulates. Now, when does wealth accumulate? So he attributes your spiritual decadence to material accumulation. So you spiritually deteriorate when you become materialistic. And what is the trademark of being materialistic is to hoard and accumulate, isn't it? So therefore, if you examine in that context, where wealth accumulate. Now, when does it accumulate?
When you don't spend it.
How much will you spend, sir? How many clothes do you want? How many
No,
houses
not
you
on
want?
yourself. When you don't spend it on good causes.
So spend is always said on oneself, sir.
Okay.
What does it do? Isn't it? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, sure.
We don't spend for others. We usually spend for ourselves. When you say for others, what do we say?
When you deploy it for good causes. Yeah. When you don't deploy it, it will accumulate.
Yeah. When you don't give, when you don't adopt the principle of sharing your privileges with others, you're able to give. The Shastras glorify that quality of giving. So when one does not adopt or one doesn't become a giver, you will start, what happens? When you're not a giver, you start accumulating. And what wealth does? Wealth, what it does is it gives you avenues for sensual indulgence. It gives you access. I can have a license or an access to every possible enjoyment with what money can buy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't have the capacity to say no to it, yet I have access to it. Then what will happen? I will fall a prey to the temptations, the indulgence, what money can buy. And also I have not used it for the betterment of others. So I am digging my own grave. Therefore, Adi Shankaracharya says, Artham is anartham. But if you don't know how to relate with it, it's like saying electricity is dangerous. Is electricity dangerous? How do you answer that question, sir?
If you touch it, yes.
If you don't know how to deal with it,
yeah.
I tell you, open the mains and please check. I have actually a bhayam whenever I say, please open the mains, because I don't know where I'll be electrocuted. I don't know which wire has live current and which is not neutral wire. I do not know. I don't know how to do it, but an electrician will go right into that and then he fiddles with all these wires and he has no problem. He knows that art of right contact with that high voltage. He is safe. When you don't know, you get electrocuted. So wealth is calamitous is exactly akin to electricity is dangerous. There's nothing wrong with electricity. Everything to do wrong with your wrong relationship with it. Amazing how broad and how rich and how profound are our Shastras, isn't it? But as you said, the truth is universal. Right? Right, Ramji? So the next two verses, in fact, Arjuna is asking a question in the 33rd and 34th verse. So I believe we have clarified the tapas, that quality. So you have to subjectively examine where you need to practice it, so that you know, that only helps you to know. Thereafter, what needs to be done, I think there is just a minute. That was one of the verses actually. In fact, in this extension to this quality of tapas helps you to first. I'm only giving one half of tapas here. The second half of tapas I'll explain when we do verse 35. Rajima, please remind me of that. 35th verse, end of it, I'll explain the second half of tapas, so you know how it all fits in. Okay, but you'll know 35 only when we do 33 and 34. That's the reason I'm giving this intentional gap. Okay, 33, please. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana yetasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana yetasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Arjuna intercepts the continuous message we have been hearing from Krishna from the beginning of this chapter. First time Arjuna asks a question in this chapter. He says, Arjuna vacha. Arjuna said, this yoga of equanimity, which is referring to what the Lord spoke in the previous verse. You speak, O Madhusudana, you speak very beautifully, but I do not see its enduring stability due to the restlessness of my mind. Please, I don't agree with you. Tinkima, Arjuna also thinks like you. He also didn't agree. He said, you may say all these things, very flowery speech. I don't agree with you. I don't know whether you read 33 before the class. Therefore, you said, okay, let me also differ with Guruji. I don't agree with you. Okay. Hariji, sorry, Maninchingona, Mandita, you wanted to say something? Paralia, Maninchingana, Mandita, the Mati Marupu, they call, no? Little bit has come into me, Right, perfect, sir. Edadana Solumna, you want to say, please? You okay? Right, okay. So Arjuna is actually asking a question in the 33rd and the 34th verse, but he actually explains the question in the 34th verse. So he is saying, I do not see its enduring stability. How can the mind be kept in that enduring stability? I do not see it. What guarantee? Because he says, my mind is fickle. Chanchalatva. Chanchala is the very nature of the mind. And I don't see how all what you're saying can ever help me to discipline my mind, which is chanchala, which is fickle, which is inconsistent, which is inconstant. It is transient, it is changing, it's variable, it's restless. I think my monkey mind cannot be disciplined, Krishna. I disagree with you. Very clear. Which we may agree with him, correct? I also have the same experience. My mind also is very, very, right now also it is running everywhere. I don't know how to keep it disciplined. Why? Because what the 34th verse says. There's nothing more here. 34th gives perhaps a beautiful explanation of what the mind is. It's fascinating. 34th verse, please. It gives the actual broadness of the various aspects of the mind. Fascinating. Question is fascinating. Forget the answer. Yes, please. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramathi balavadhrudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramathi balavadhrudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind, verily, O Krishna, is restless. Chanchalam, again he repeats it. Pramathi, turbulent. Balavat, strong. Dridam, unyielding. I deem it as difficult to control as Vayuhu, as the wind. This is my conviction, Krishna. I am convinced it is impossible to control the mind because of the 4 qualities or attributes of the mind. He says the mind is restless, is turbulent, is strong, is obstinate. This must be taught to every child from the age of 8 or 10. At that age, this child must be taught this is the nature of your mind. Slowly. And by the time they're 15, 16, they should know what is their mind, and they should start minding the mind. If not, you're asking for serious trouble. You have not taught your child how to live. You have taught your child how to make a living. So all the attributes of the mind are comparable to the wind. I will not get into that. But what are the attributes of the mind? First, he says restless. What does restlessness mean? Mind is full of desires, and because of the desires, it is running in different directions. And each direction it is running, it is seeking fulfillment. And wherever there is this pursuit, there is a constant agitation, because it's possible that you may not be able to fulfill every desire of yours, isn't it? Your mind is running in different directions. So there's a constant worry, there's a constant anxiety about getting what your mind wants. It is restless. Where is it running? Reddy Garu, where is your mind running?
Pranam Guruji.
Yes, sir. Pronounce.
It's unknown destinations.
Unknown destination.
Not my mind at this moment. Of course, my mind is perfectly in class.
No, that's perfect.
Most of the times I'm saying that.
Yes.
It's going to the trying to look into the something which is just not in your way of thinking.
It's constantly wanting something.
And you rightly mentioned, Guruji, I think the children and most of the people has to be at this moment need to be at least to make a differentiation between what is the mind and what is the brain. There is a huge gap is not being known. Quite a lot of times I come across and asking the mind and the brain is same. So that means to say the level of teaching was not really to that effect of understanding the gap.
No. The best institutions in the world don't teach you about the intellect, sir. They don't give you that. They're just, even philosophical institutions are only making you intelligent philosophers. So you can become teachers or pundits of philosophy. But does it give you the intellect? I do not know. I can be a great speaker teaching you this knowledge, but I may have no intellect. I can give you knowledge of Vedanta, but have I given you the intellect in the process? I do not know. That's the difference I'm saying. Earlier, other class we were studying.
Yes.
In Atma Bodha, isn't it?
Yes.
So the typical nature of the mind, it is restless, it's running in different directions. And each direction is unending. Let's say you have a desire to buy a watch. Is there an end to that desire for a watch?
Asking me, Guruji?
You can answer.
Yeah.
I thought they already muted you. They're very quick at muting people. If they have not muted you, you're lucky. You have to thank your stars. So you can continue to speak.
Yes, Guruji. The moment first thought comes to the buy a watch, then the question comes to you what for type of watch, what brand, then the price comes, and there is endless. There is a ocean of options are available. You keep dwelling onto that options. So you start with your journey with a limited budget, and you land up with something else. So it's very, very difficult to come out of that by the time you realize that you are so far away on that. So your journey of the thought and desire started with a very little, but it grows too big.
So it starts with one thing, and then you say, okay, this is my budget. I can stretch little bit. I get that, but I've ended up picking up another desire for another watch in that watch shop. I went with this budget, but I came back with a desire for a bigger, better watch.
True.
And then Tinkima, I'm watching tennis, Roland Garros, French Open live. What do you see? Advertisements, Rolex, ambassador, brand ambassador of all these premier Grand Slams.
But one thing, Guruji, I'm sorry interrupting you. Is Vedanta taught me one thing: whether you buy 1 crore watch or 1,000 rupees watch, time is the same.
Correct, sir. Absolutely no difference. Same time is shown. That's absolutely. But I'm saying there is no end to your desire or cravings. I'm still with one direction of your mind going. Each direction is endless. You must remember that. I want to buy a house. Does it end with one house or this house? It is unending. Any desires are many branched, and it is endless. These are the 2 points you got to write down under restlessness. I repeat, desires are many, and each desire is unending. So you can spend your entire life trying to fulfill. You will not be able to satisfy the restless mind. Point 2, Pramarthi. It is turbulent. And what do you understand by saying the mind is turbulent? Hariji, tell me, what does it mean? What do you understand when the mind is turbulent? Which is also applicable to the winds. The winds, we say the turbulent winds rock the ship. Pesungo, Hariji.
I didn't get.
No, I think you are muting and unmuting yourself actually. Now you speak. Don't touch the cursor. We can hear you.
Can I have the question once more?
No, the question I was asking is the second quality of the mind, he says, is pramati, is turbulent. What do you understand by the quality turbulent?
It's chanchal. He is not able to be consistent, and
chanchal is the first quality.
Yeah.
Chanchal is mind running in different directions, and each direction is endless. That's the first point.
Yeah.
Second point, he says it is turbulent. It is different to chanchal.
Yeah, when it is a weak intellect, the intellect
understood. Don't go to the intellect. Explain the turbulent nature of the mind. Everything comes when the intellect is weak. There's a standard answer. I'm asking this different flavor of the mind.
That it's not able to control, just like when the boat is there in the ocean with the wind, it is going hither and thither. Yeah, so it becomes the wind is turbulent, and the boat gets affected. So the wind is equivalent to our thoughts
Yes.
and our feelings. So that makes us totally go haywire. We are not able to be in that direction.
Okay, fair enough. I give you what you say is right. In your own way, you have said so. But I think we could seek more clarity on that. Thank you, Hariji. Venkatramanji, if I can ask you, what do you understand by the term turbulent?
Some sort of a disturbance, volatility, or something like that. Agitation.
Okay. Agitation. But agitation is being very charitable to the term turbulence.
I mean, a lot of highs. Turbulence, the literary meaning is very, very, what one has to say, volatile kind of a thing.
So when the mind's passions go high,
and
when the passion is high, like when the winds are pleasant, there's no turbulence. But the winds are high, the seas are very turbulent. So the ships go through the roller coaster literally. They're almost off rock, put off their balance. They lose their stability.
Yes.
Similarly, when the mind's passions go extremely high, what happens is you become violent. You commit extreme crime. You commit rape, murder. You can go to the extreme, most atrocious acts somebody can do because the mind has become turbulent, too strong to control. It can just, like the winds can uproot a tree which has been rooted for 50 years, but the winds can uproot a tree from its roots. Not just the secondary roots, the primary roots, it just pulls it, uproots it. That is the power of the wind. The wind, perhaps a hurricane, at speed at 200 kilometers an hour, the wind can easily uproot a tree. That is what Arjuna is saying. My mind, I think the nature of the mind is just not chanchala running here and there. The nature of the mind is very, very turbulent. Like the wind, he says. All extreme crimes are committed because of the nature of the mind. And two other qualities, he says, mind is strong. Very strong. Can you imagine? Only thing comes to my mind is Hitler's mind. What a strong mind he had, by Jove. Rocked the whole world. He had a strong mind. And then it's obstinate. It will not yield. It will not budge. You put all this together, it is obvious it's difficult to control. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. Sudushkaram, it is difficult, Krishna. I don't know, how are you telling me to bring it under control, stability and equanimity? I think it's very difficult because of this nature. And we all can empathize with Arjuna because we all in his state. We experience that. I'll come back and expand on the third and the fourth quality of the mind before we seek the Lord's answer. Okay. Yes, Rajiv.
Hariom, as Guruji would be conducting the exclusive Eternal Wisdom workshop next Sunday, that is the 20th of June, we would not be having our scheduled Bhagavad Gita class. Namaskaram. Over to you, Guruji, for the Shanti Mantra.
So the next class, when is the next class? You should also let them know when is the next class. You are muted, Ma.
Would it be the 27th, Guruji?
I am not clear of the dates. Whenever is the next
It is
Sunday.
the 27th. It is the 27th, Guruji.
Right. So there is no Gita class the next week. The Gita class will only be a fortnight from now. All right. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Bhyo. Hari Om.